Single entity based on different condition behavior.
Yeah, one symbol is having many forms. Single entity will have the many forms. So we have the two types of polymorphisms. One is compile time, another runtime here. So this compile time polymorphism, we can also call it as a static polymorphism, or we can also call it as a early binding, right? So early binding, you know what is meant by binding? What is meant by binding? Already I explained in the previous class. What is meant by binding?
Sir, the linking between procedure call and procedure, the definition.
Yeah, linking between procedure call or function call and function definition is called binding. If that linking happened during compile time, that is compile time uh, linking, that is the early binding or static binding. We can also call it as a compile time polymorphism. Suppose if that linking is happened during runtime here, so then we can call it as a late binding or dynamic binding, or we can also call it as a runtime polymorphism here. So the runtime polymorphism is basically implemented by using function overriding, right? So whereas compile time polymorphism is implemented by using overloading, right? So already explained in the previous class what is overloading. Overloading means the same function with a different signature, right? In the same class. In the same class. It is called overloading. And overriding means the same function definition occurs in the two classes here. See, same uh, um, uh, the same function. Its two definitions exist here. One is in base class and one is in derived class here. So then the derived class function will override the function in the base class here. That is called function overriding here. So this function overriding concept uses the virtual function to implement the runtime polymorphism here, right? So what is virtual function? We will see later. Uh, see, first let us see what is function overriding. And already I explained in the previous class. Once again, just I'm giving brief here. So we have the two functions, the same one function with two definitions. One definition is in base class, one definition is derived class, right? Then derived class function will override. Derived is nothing but child class. Child class function overrides the function in the parent class or base class here, right? So and the call to the function definition. So whatever two definitions are there of same function, so call to that function definition is determined at the runtime here, right? So which decide which function definition has to be called, either the definition in the base class or definition in the uh, derived class or child class here. Function is same, but it is having two different definitions, right? So that is what we call it as a runtime polymorphism here. So the call to the function definition are linked to the function definition. From the call to uh, function call to function definition, link is determined during the runtime. So that is what we call it as a runtime polymorphism here, right? So you can see this is one code. We have the function void display here. So it's one definition is in class A. So it is a base class or parent class here, and another definition is in class B, right? So which is a child class, right? The same function but two definitions. So here we have the void display function. Here is also void display function. So one definition is in class A, another definition is in class B here. So in the definition of class A, we have the superclass function, and definition of the class B, we have the subclass function here. So next what we have to do is we have to create object of the superclass and object of the child class, or object of the parent class or object of the child class here. So simply I have created object of the parent class a obj dot display here. So which definition of the function will be called here? Parent class definition or child class definition here? A obj dot display here. So which definition will be called? The display function is having two definitions. One is in parent class, another one is child class. So which class definition will be called by the
Parent
parent
class.
class object? Sorry, yeah, tell me.
Parent class.
Yeah, parent class definition. Now I have created the child class definition. I have created the child class object here, that is obj2, and obj2 dot display here. Now which class definition will be called here?
Child
Child
class.
class.
Child class definition will be called
Child
here.
class.
So, but it is here, it is this linking of the function call and with the function definition is happened during compile time only. So that is what it is not going to be implement the runtime polymorphism here, right? So generally runtime, in order to implement the runtime polymorphism, what should happen here? This linking of function call with the definition should happen during runtime here. But here in this, it is happening during compile time, right? So that is what we have, it is not perfectly implementing the runtime polymorphism here. So in order to make it to implement the runtime polymorphism, what we have to do here? So we have to use virtual function concept here, right? So we have to use virtual function concept, and one more thing is simply here we have the base class, we have to create the base class pointer, that is a obj. Obj is normal object of the parent class a, right? So instead of here we have to create object, and another one is we have to create the parent class pointer object. So and we have to make the pointer object of the parent class refer to the derived class object here. We have to make the parent class object refer to the derived class object here, right? So that which can by using parent class object, right? So we can refer to the base class object as well as derived class object. So then during runtime, the linking of the function call with the function definition will happen here, right? So that I will show you in implementation, right? Execution I will show you so that you can clearly understand. See, uh, as it is a static binding here, so which displays the normal output here. This is super class function and subclass function. So that is the parent class definition is having the text to super class function, and derived class that is a class B. Derived class definition is having subclass function here, right? So we have to this is the static binding here. Now next what we have to do is, so we have to make the parent class pointer object should point to the derived class object here. So let us create parent class pointer object here, ptr obj. This is pointer object here. Now what I am doing is simply this is obj is an object and ptr obj is an pointer object here. So I'm making pointer object ptr underscore obj equal to, I'm initializing with address of obj. So obj is which class object? Parent class or child class? Once check.
Parent class.
So parent class here. Now I'm calling the definition of the function by using only pointer object. I'm not using object here. ptr underscore obj, right? So when we use the when we call the members of a class by using pointer object, which operator which symbol we have to use? Arrow symbol we have to use. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what I am doing is pointer object which is initialized with the address of parent plus object. So object to pointer is is initialized with address of class A object, right? So now again what we have to do is, this is the parent class. Now similarly you initialize the pointer. So this is, copy this one. Now initialize the with address of derived class object here, and you copy the same, this one here, control C, control V. Now can you tell what is the output of this one here? See, you can observe here. Now obj is the parent class object, that is class A object, and ptr obj is the pointer object, that is object pointer of the class A. So now we have initialized the object pointer with address of parent class object, and we called the uh, parent class, we called the disp function by using object pointer here. So now which calls which definition of the disp function, parent class definition or child class definition?
Parent class.
Parent class. And what about this one? What about this one here? Is it cursor blinking? You look at the point where the cursor is blinking here. See this,
Child class.
this one is what here? Child class. Yes.
Yes, sir.
So actually it has to call the child class, but let us check whether it is calling the child class or not here, right? So I think you understood this concept. Now I will run this code. See, but what happened? What happened now? Which versions of the we called the display function twice, right? So which version of the which definition of the function is called twice?
Parent class.
Only parent class here. So this is that means it is not calling to the child class definition here. So that is, it is not mapping. Even the parent class object is parent class object pointer is initialized with the address of derived class object. It is not calling to the definition of the child class here. So in order to do that, right? So basically it is linking during runtime, because we are changing the address of object pointers during runtime. So even though it is not, so in order to perfectly call the derived class version, so we have to declare the function in the base class as a virtual here. We have to declare, or we have to use the keyword virtual before the definition of the disp function in the parent class, right? So now which is directly which correctly map the definition of the function with class here. Now you can see I added the virtual here. Now which versions are called here? Now you can see the output. What is the output now? Superclass function and subclass function. Now the definitions of the classes, that is a base class function definition and derived class function definitions, are perfectly called now. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a perfect implementation of the runtime polymorphism here. This is the perfect implementation of the runtime polymorphism. So in order to implement the runtime polymorphism, so previous one is a method overriding concept, but method overriding alone itself cannot implement the runtime polymorphism. So in order to implement the runtime polymorphism, method overriding uses the concept of virtual function here, right? So in any class, the parent class, we have to declare the function as a virtual, so that which will differentiate the definitions of the same function in the parent class and derived class, and binds the definitions of parent class and derived class here. Bind the definition of the parent class and parent class definitions of the functions in the parent class and derived class here. So then which will perfectly implement the runtime polymorphism here, right? So this is about runtime polymorphism implementation. Is it okay? Yes. Any doubts in this? Yes. Any doubts, or shall I explain once again? Please respond.
Explain, sir, once again.
See, once again I'm repeating here. So first what I'm doing is I'm not using this one here, right? So what is overriding here? First I will explain what is overriding. So the same function definition exists in the parent class and derived class. Then the function in the derived class will override the function in the base class here, right? So now the display function in the derived class is there, and display function, void display function in parent class is there. So then void display function in the child class will override the void display function in the parent class. That is in class A. So this is called function overriding. So is it clear what is function overriding? Function overriding అంటే ఏంటో అర్థమైందా?
Yes, sir.
రైట్. ఎందుకంటే ఫంక్షన్ ఓవర్లోడింగ్కు ఓవర్రైడింగ్కు చాలా డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఓవర్లోడింగ్ అంటేనేమో ఫంక్షన్ రిటర్న్ టైపు, నంబర్ ఆఫ్ పారామీటర్స్ డిఫరెంట్ ఉంటాయి. ఇక్కడ చూడండి, ఫంక్షన్ ఓవర్రైడింగ్లో ఫంక్షన్ టైప్ వైడే ఉంది. ఇక్కడ ఫంక్షన్ నేమ్ ఎనీవే సేమ్, number of parameters and types of parameters are same here, right? The function, that means the only one function is same, but only the definitions are different here. Definition in the base class and definition in the derived class, right? So then the definition in the derived class will override the definition in the parent class. This is function overriding. After that, what I did is, if I call this, I have created the object of the class A, and I have created the object pointer of the class A, object pointer, right? And here object pointer ptr obj is initialized with the address of obj. Obj is which class object?
Parent class.
class.
పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ అంటే ఏంటిది? పాయింటర్లో ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ యొక్క అడ్రస్ ఉంటుంది? పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్సే కదా, అంతే కదా?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
ptr object stores the address of the parent class object. So now I am calling the member, that is ptr obj display. So ఇదే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ తోని, పాయింటర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ తోని ఐఎమ్ కాలింగ్ ద మెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ది పేరెంట్, మెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ది క్లాస్. సో అప్పుడు ఏ మెంబర్ని కాల్ చేస్తుంది ఇది? ఇప్పుడు ఈ పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ ptr obj లో ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్ ఉంది? పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్టా, డెరైవ్డ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్సా?
Parent class.
పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్ ఉంది కాబట్టి, సో విచ్ కాల్స్ విచ్ వర్షన్ ఆఫ్ ది విచ్ డెఫినేషన్, పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ డెఫినేషన్ చైల్డ్ క్లాస్ డెఫినేషన్ కాల్ చేస్తుందా?
Parent class.
సో విచ్ కాల్స్ పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ డెఫినేషన్ విచ్ డిస్ప్లే సూపర్ క్లాస్ ఫంక్షన్, అంతే కదా? నెక్స్ట్, నౌ ఐ క్రియేటెడ్ ద డెరైవ్డ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ obj2, and again pre-initialized the pointer with address of obj2. అడ్రస్ ఆఫ్ obj2 అంటే ఏంటిది? డిరైవ్డ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్తో పాయింటర్ని ఇనిషియలైజ్ చేస్తున్నాం. అంటే ఈ పాయింటర్లో ఇప్పుడు ఏ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అడ్రస్ ఉంది?
Derived class.
డిరైవ్డ్ క్లాస్ అడ్రస్ ఉంది. నౌ ఐఎమ్ కాలింగ్ సేమ్ పాయింటర్ విత్ టు ద సేమ్ మెంబర్ హియర్, సేమ్ పాయింటర్ with definition here. Now which definition will be called? Derived class definition or base class definition? Base class లో ఉన్న function definition or derived class function definition? చెప్పాను కదా, ఐ హావ్ నాట్ డిక్లేర్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఎ వర్చువల్గా డిక్లేర్ చేయలేదు. చేయనప్పుడు దేనికి కాల్ చేస్తుంది ఇది?
Parent class.
It calls the parent class. Why? Because child class is inheriting the parent class members into derived class. అర్థమైంది కదా? కాబట్టి మనం పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ పాయింటర్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ యూజ్ చేస్తున్నాం కాబట్టి విచ్ ఆల్వేస్ కాల్స్ టు ద పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ మెంబర్స్ ఫస్ట్. Which always calls to the parent class members, then only which will calls to derived class. So in order to call the derived class member, we have to declare the function. We have to declare the function in the base class as a virtual here. ఇప్పుడు నేనేం చేసిన, క్లాస్ ఏలో void disp ఫంక్షన్ని వర్చువల్ ఫంక్షన్గా డిక్లేర్ చేసిన.
Yes, sir.
Now you can see the output here. ఇప్పుడు అవుట్పుట్ ఏమొస్తుందో చూడండి. ఇప్పుడు దేన్ని కాల్ చేసింది ఇది? డిరైవ్డ్ క్లాస్ డెఫినేషనా, పేరెంట్ క్లాస్ డెఫినేషనా?
Derived class.
అదే నేను వర్చువల్ యూజ్ చేయకుంటే దేన్ని కాల్ చేస్తుంది?
Parent class.
Parent class here. This is the difference. So these are happening during runtime here. Runtime లోనే పాయింటర్ అడ్రస్ చేంజ్ అవుతుంటుంది. So during runtime, which is linking the call with the definition here. So that is what it is, a implementation of the runtime polymorphism here. Clear? Is it clear? Now is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts? Okay. So now go for the, this is about runtime polymorphism implementation, right? So you can see the differences between function overloading and function overriding once again. So function overloading happens in the same class. When we declare same function with different arguments in the same class, function overloading occurs here. What is function overloading? Function overriding happens in the child class. When child class overrides the parent class function here. Second difference. In function overloading, function signature should be different for all overloaded functions. In function overriding, signature of both functions, overriding function and overridden function. Do you know what is overriding function and what is overridden function? What is overriding function? What is overridden function? పేరెంట్ క్లాస్లో ఉన్న ఫంక్షన్ డెఫినేషన్ని ఓవర్ రిడెన్ ఫంక్షన్ అంటాం. చైల్డ్ క్లాస్లో ఉన్న ఫంక్షన్ డెఫినేషన్ని ఓవర్ రైడింగ్ ఫంక్షన్ అంటాం. అర్థమైందా? సో ద చైల్డ్ ఫంక్షన్ ఇన్ ద చైల్డ్ క్లాస్ will override the function in the parent class here if both functions are having the same signature and same name here, right? Next, overloading happens at the compile time. Already I told you. So that is also known as compile time polymorphism, while overriding happens at runtime, which is why, so we call it as a runtime polymorphism here, right? In function overloading, we can have any number of overloaded functions. Function overloading low. So because it is in the same class, you can write any number of overloaded functions here, right? Only one overriding function in child class here, because we have respect of any number of functions here, but only one function should be there. Overriding function is there in the child class here, so that will override in the base class. Ante we in previous example I have written disp function, void disp here in the base class and derived class, so that in derived class should not have more than one void disp functions here. So again, which will becomes one kind of overloading in the class child here, but it should be overriding function here, right? So that is what it should be. The child class should have only one overriding function here, right? So that means it can have any number of overridden functions, but it should have only overriding function here, right? This is about runtime polymorphism here. So this is unit 3. Any doubts in this? Yes. I will show you syllabus. Base class and direct construction, destructors, virtual base classes. So next, abstract classes. We have the virtual function uh, call mechanism we have seen. We have two more topics here: pure virtual functions, abstract classes, right? And virtual destructors are also there. So those we'll see. So up to now, do you have any doubts or any? So based on this, I will explain few lab programs we have. In previous lecture, I have given some lab programs. So for IT, I think for IT I have not explained. For CSC people, I have explained about lab programs, right? So up to 4 experiments I have completed, and you can go for the fifth experiments, right? So these you have to implement of your own, but I will explain how to do this one here. So for IT, I will share the videos. I have done the videos for these 4 experiments. I will share the videos. IT people once go through those videos, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me personally. I'll clarify to you here, right? So in today's class one, because we have the time here before the going to the pure virtual functions, I'll explain this one lab experiment. In between, we can finish the lab experiments also here. So what is the fifth experiment here? Write a C++ program to read the data of an employee and compute the net salary of each employee net salary. So DA 52% of basic, and income tax is 30% of the gross salary here. So based on that, we have to calculate the net salary, right? And we have to implement this one here. So once I'll show those slab manual here. So fifth experiments. For every program, I will share the manual also. I think I have shared already for you. See, write a script to read the data of an employee and compute the net salary of each employee DA with the DA percentage 52% of basic and IT is 30% of gross salary. So this is a procedure which we have to follow for every program, right? So step one, for especially IT people, you concentrate this. So include the required header files, iostream.h and conio.h, and if required, that those only we have to include here. But as in our many programs, we are including only iostream here. So then in step two, we have to create a class employee with the following members. So the second step is we have to create a class. So class, what is the name? The class I have given the employee, because as for the experiment name here, I'm creating the employee. It is having data members as well as member functions. So what are the data members here? It is same as our previous experiment, fourth experiments here. So you can easily see this. I think many questions here. Yes. Abhiram, I think they are asking some. Sir, can you explain about virtual functions? Just now I explained. No? Once again, do you require? Hello. Not audible. Okay. Once again, I will explain pure virtual function. Sorry, virtual function. So many of you asking about virtual function. Nothing. It is nothing here. It is same as our function overriding. As for the request, many students from many students here, I'm once again explaining what is virtual function. Simply when same function exists in the base class and derived class, same function exists in the base class and derived class, we have to declare the function in the base class as a virtual function here. That's it. So that is what you can see here. A virtual void display function is there. Void display function is there. The function is same. Don't bother about definitions here. The function is same here. When the same function exists in the base class and derived class here, so you have to declare the function in the base class as a virtual function here, right? So in order to declare it as a virtual function, just to use the before the function name virtual keyword here, virtual void display, and here simply you have to declare it as a very void display function here. So after doing this, in order to implement the runtime polymorphism, first to create one object of the parent class and object pointer of the parent class here, and you have to make the object pointer of the parent class to refer the object of the derived class as well as parent class also. So here we have created object pointer asterisk ptr object. This is object pointer, and this object is the normal object of the parent class here. Now what I did is I initialized the object pointer with address of parent class object here. So then which class, which object address this pointer is having now? Yeah, tell me. Which object address this pointer is having? Parent class object address or derived class object address here? Parent class, right? So now, and now I'm calling the display function definition, ptr object display here. So then which definition will be called? Parent class definition or derived class definition here? So which calls a parent class definition here, right? And next, I created the object of the derived class here. I created the object that is obj2. It is an object of the derived class, that is class B, right? And I reinitialize. This is the object pointer. I reinitialize with address ampersand obj2. So that means with address of second object here. Now again, after changing the content of the pointer object, I am calling the display function here. Now, which definition of this display function will be called? Parent class definition or child class definition? Which definition will be called? Which is calling the, which is calling what here? Child class here. So because here, how it is implemented now, pointer object is only parent class. So this pointer object we have made to refer to the parent class object as well as derived class object here, right? So by declaring the function in the base class as a virtual function. So this is about virtual function concept here. Now is it clear? Is it clear or any doubts? Yes. Understood? Okay. So this is about this one here. Now let us go for the lab manual here. So you can see here, next create the step 2. In the step 2, create a class employee with the following members here. Data members, we have to create employee number, employee name, employee basic, employee DA percentage, IT, and gross salary and net salary. These are the data members of the class. We have to declare these are the data members of the class because we have given in the question itself here. C++ program to read the data of an employee and compute net salary of each employee. Here DA, basic, and IT, all these. Based on that, we have to declare these are data members, and we have to declare the member functions. Read EMP details, find net salary to calculate the net salary of employee, and display EMP details. So read EMP details is to read the data of employee and find net salary. It is a member function. These three member functions we have to use. So one is, so this one here, read EMP details, And second member function is what here? Find net salary. And this one is what you thought. These three member functions we have to declare in the class employee. So read EMP details member functions reads the data of employee, that is employee number, employee name, employee basic salary, right? So these we will read. And find net salary. So this function will calculate, takes the input as basic salary, DA percentage and IT percentage. Based on that, which will calculate the net salary of employee here. Display EMP details here. Once the net salary is calculated, the employee details like employee number, name, basic salary, TA, DA, IT, and net salary will be displayed here. So for displaying, we have to use the display EMP details function here. And after that, if these are declared inside of a class, we have to define this outside of the class here. Implement all member functions with their respective code here. Then create the main method. Within the main method, what we have to do here, we have to create how many objects? How many objects we have to create here? Each object reads the and display one employee information. So here in the program they have given, in the problem they have given, read the data of n employee. N employee means how many objects we have to create?
And
N number of objects here. So n means we cannot create like object E1, E2, E3 up to n here. So instead of that, we have an option array, right? We have to create an array of object here, right? So object array we have to create and we have to specify the size as integer here. Next, read the number of employees. Once it is created, so you can, if you give the n here, n means you can give any number of employees here. So take the, what is the exact size, or 10 employee, 2 employee, 3 employees here. And now call the read emp details method. So through array of class object from 0 to number of employee here. So that means, suppose if you want to read the 5 employees here, so then you have to use the for loop and call the read emp details method 5 times. 5 times. Each time call of emp details functions reads one employee data here, because you have to read the 5 employees details here. A read emp details function you call the 5 times. So 5 employee details you can read here, and find net salary here. So through a array of object from 0 to 9, which reads the 5 employees, calculate the 5 employees net salaries, and display EMP details here. Again, you have to call the 5 times, which displays the 5 employees details here, right? So then return to exit here. You can see the implementation. So now I will show you here. This is the class employee declared here. Here, shall I explain or shall I go for the go to the editor? ఇక్కడ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయాలా, ఎడిటర్కి వెళ్ళాలా? ప్లీజ్ టెల్ మీ. Okay, I will go to the editor so that you can clearly understand. See, what is the step 1 in that? What is the step 1 in the procedure? Yes, tell me, what is step 1?
include header files.
Include header files. So header files we have included. What is that? Include iostream.h, and using namespace also we have declared. What is the step 2? What is the step 2? Create a class employee with the following members. So we have to declare a class. So this is class employee declared here. What are the data members here? Employee name, employee number, basic, DA, IT, gross salary, net salary. See in the procedure. So we have to create an employee with the following members: employee number, employee name, basic, DA, TA, gross salary, and net salary as data members here, right? And what is the next within that? We have, what are the member functions here? We have the three member functions. One is void read EMP details and float find net salary and void display EMP details. How many member functions we have? How many member functions we have? Yes, tell me. How many member functions we have? Member functions. How many member functions we have in a class? This is the closing of the class.
Sir, three.
Yeah, three member functions. So that is first one is read EMP details. So this is a read EMP details here, and integer count we can give here. So which represents which employee data you want to read here. So enter employee details here, like count, suppose one. So enter employee one details. So employee number, that is number, employee name, give the employee name, just to give the basic salary. So these are the three inputs which you have to give: employee number, name, basic salary here, right? So this read EMP details functions takes the input, that is a date of employee, reads the date of employee, employee number, name, and basic salary here, right? So after that, what is another function here? Find net salary here. So you can see in here, find net salary. So what it does here, which will calculate the net salary of employee from basic salary, basic which will take as input here. So DA which will calculate, DA is equal to basic into 0.52, because in the question itself we have given why 0.52. You can see that in the question. So 52% of the basic, DA is how much here? DA is equal to 52% of basic, and IT is equal to 30% of the gross salary. After calculating gross salary, from the 30% we have to calculate here. So that is what here. So DA is equal to basic into 0.52, 50% and ente kada 0. So now calculate gross salary. So gross salary equal to what here? Basic salary plus DA. Gross salary equal to what here? Basic salary plus DA here. And from that you have to calculate IT. IT is what here? 30% of DA. So IT is equal to gross salary into 0.30. So this is 30% of this one here. So now get the net salary. How do you calculate net salary? Net salary is equal to basic plus DA. So that is basic plus DA. You can simply, it is a gross salary. Gross salary minus IT we have to take here. IT will be subtracted. So then you will get the net salary. So net salary, this find net salary function will calculate the net salary of employee here. Next, third function is display EMP details function. So what it does here, which is only for displaying the data of employee here. So employee count, again count represents what here, which employee data which is going to be, that is 1 2 3 4 5 like this here. So employee one details you can take, employee number will be displayed, name will be displayed, net salary will be displayed, right? Closing here, and closing of the class declaration is closed, right? So up to this, class declaration is closed here. Now class is declared. What is the next step? So implement the all functions with their respective code, because those are implemented within the class itself here. So now create the main method. Step 4 is create the main method. So we have created the main method, right? And after that, what we did here, within the main method, create an array of class object with specific size and number of EMP as integer here. So create, this is what? Array of object here. This is what? Array of objects. Here size, maximum size I have given is 100. What it means? 100 means what? This is size of array. Yes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Size of array means how many employees, maximum how many employees data we can read and display?
100.
100 here, right? So and you can give, this is a maximum possible here, you can give less than that also. int number of employees. This two variables I have taken here. Next, CLR SCR, if required, you can, it is not required here. So in offline comparer, you can give, please enter the number of employees. So you can initialize number of employees here. Now, suppose if I enter number of employees equal to 3. So this for loop is repeated how many number of times here? Number of employee have given, count equal to 0, count is less than number of employee. Number of employee, how many have given? Let its value is 3. 3 employees data I want to read here. So count is less than 3, count plus plus. So which will call emp of count. Emp is what? Array name. Count is index dot read emp details here, and count plus plus. How many times read emp details will be called here? So this is for reading the data of employee. First for loop is reads the data of employee. Data of employees. Reads the data of employees here, right? So how many times which will be called here? Read emp details function is called how many times?
Sir, number of EMP.
Number of emp. If I give 3, 3 times. If I give 10, 10 times will be called. So for reading the 10 employees data here. So do you know why we are passing this argument here? Count plus 1?
No, sir.
No. See, count equal to 0, right? Count plus
Yes.
count plus 1 is equal to that means 1. 1 means what? Reading the first employee data. So you can see here, here we are passing int count. So here we are passing value 1. Count is 0 here. 0 plus 1 means what? 1 here. So 1 means what here? Here count value is 1. Enter employee 1 details to know which employee details you are entering. Either first employee, second employee, third employee, fourth employee, right? So for that I am using this count here, count variable.
Yes, sir.
Understood now?
Yes, sir.
So this is, do you understood emp of count? This is
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
this is index, right? So
Yes, sir.
next, the same. So in order to calculate the net salary of employee, so again we have to call the find net salary method here, function. Again this also repeated how many? Depends upon the number of employees here. Suppose if you have number of employees at 5, so find net salary. So net 10 members, 5 members net salary, it has to be calculated here. 10 members net salary, it has to be calculated here. For count equal to 0, count less the number of employees, count plus. So find net salary, which will be called 10 times here. Okay, which calculate what here? Net salary of, calculates net salary of each employee. Right? Next. So now another for loop. So this for loop is what here? We are using for displaying the data of employee here. Again, display emp details. Again, I am passing as a parameter count plus 1. So I think you understood what is this count plus 1 represents a number of employee here. So whether you are displaying first employee details, second employee details, or third employee details. Got it? Yes, got it? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Understood.
Right? So now this is about this fifth experiment. Now I will run here. Enter the number of employees maximum given here. I have give only, I will give some 3 employees. I have given, sorry, only 3 employees details here. Please enter the number of employees. Enter the employee 1 details, count value, which is giving here employee 1, like 201 I have given. Employee name, some Raju have given, and employee basic salary, some 50,000 I have given. 50,000 I have given here. Next, employee 1 details are saved. Next, enter the employee 2 details here. So let us take 202 employee number 2 and give the Rani I have given here, and basic salary some 45,000 I have given. So employee 2 details also saved here. Next, employee number 203. Right. Employee name some Kumar I given. Basic salary some 55,000 I have given here. Right. Then now given inputs, it has displayed employee 1 details. You got the output, right? So these inputs you have given. Now we have the we got the, so employee number 201 name, and net salary is 53,200 here. 202 Rani 47,880 net salary. So what is the basic salary we have given? 45,000. So what is the net salary we have calculated? 47,880 here. So 203. So Kumar name and 58,520. What is the net salary we have given here? Basic salary 55,000. So what is the net salary we got here? 58,520. So this is about experiment 3. So likewise, you can read any number of employees data here. Is it clear? Any doubts here?
No doubt, sir.
Okay, thank you. Right. So remaining experiments I'll explain in between later. Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.